Hi everyone, it's David with ShamanMan. I work with empaths, intuitives, and energy sensitives in the transformation and awakening. And in the dialogue with tons of people, um, at different stages, people have to kind of go through phases of how to handle their gifts and how does it work for them. And in that process, as you guys know, sometimes it becomes very challenging emotionally, energetically. Sometimes it's very difficult to continue and make progress because you sense an overwhelm, or you're not sure how you're processing everything, and you start to become overwhelmed. Um, I want to address that because if you stop working with your gifts, then the pain and suffering that you're going to experience because you're closing down that flow isn't going to be good for you. Let's talk more about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. I know from my experience in my seeking and searching 7 years ago, for example, there wasn't really much dialogue or discussion about empaths, intuitives. There wasn't a lot of content that you could find. And so it was a bit challenging. And from all the teachers that I had and readings and videos that I had researched and studied and practiced, it wasn't until really a few years ago where I had a really special teacher say to me, hey, you're an energy sensitive, and here's some of the implications of that. What I learned subsequently was a lot of people had discussions about grounding and shielding and, and ways to try to create yourself as kind of like a walled in or armor yourself up so that you wouldn't feel these sensations. And I just want to stress how wrong that teaching is. Grounding and shielding are not what an empath and intuitive, energy sensitive needs to be concerned with. If you are creating a resistance, if you can imagine yourself like a rock in a river, and the river is flowing over that rock, over time you're worn down, right? Well, if you're constantly in defense mode, shielding, grounding, what have you, there's no way that you can experience what you're supposed to experience in the sensory perception you're receiving. You're supposed to be able to use the information, not have it be a way to bind you down. And so many people are so overwhelmed with what they're feeling that they think their gift isn't a gift, that it's a curse, and they're not sure how to address it, and so have a hard time functioning, whether keeping a job or multiple friends or what have you. Basically, they go out, fill themselves up, right? And then when they feel overwhelmed, they come back and want to hibernate for a little bit, dump out their cup, give themselves a pep talk, and then go do it again. That's not really an effective cycle, is it? That's not really an effective way to use your gifts. Your gifts are your gifts because you're supposed to be able to use the information you received, and if you worked on yourself and you removed some of your problem areas from yourself, then you wouldn't attract those problem areas in the flow. Which means then you're still able to recognize what you're feeling, but you don't have the emotional charge. So what happens when you stop working on your gifts? Well, it's the same way of you kind of saying shielding, grounding. If you're in a flow, energy is a flow. And because if you're sourced from the Creator, if you're sourcing your power from the Creator, then it's a very different approach. You're not drawn out. In other words, you don't get depleted. You don't depress yourself in that way because you're not gaining your energy by what you're feeling from others or the sun, the star, the river, the rock, whatever. It's not just a worldly type of energy. You can use these energies to move yourself forward, but they weren't designed, and you're not designed to live in that space. You already have a battery pack that has unending power, ability, if you're sourcing yourself from the right place. But that takes work and some practice. If you listen to others, if you, as you're making progress, it gets tough, and it's tough work, and it's uncomfortable. Because you're addressing things within yourself, how you respond to things, how you react to things, that you're not as pleased with instinctually, and those things can change, and this is part of your gifts. But in my transformation, everybody kept saying, "Here's what you're feeling," or kind of like validation, right? Like, here's what you're feeling, but nobody was really saying, and not many people today really say, "Here's how you apply your gifts." It's usually about, here's what you're receiving in. You're not alone. You can fix yourself. This is okay. This is just part of your awakening and transformation. But it's all very kind of floaty. You know what I'm saying? And that didn't work for me or my personality. And it didn't work for what I felt we were given. I wanted to honor the gifts. I wanted to be worthy, to improve myself as a person, to become a better person, to do more good, to think better, to respond better. These were all on me. It doesn't matter whether I was an energy sensitive or not. This is on me, period. Then you add on a layer of energy sensitivity, and when you work on yourself in that way, your energy sensitive gifts improve, and it starts to become an information source for you. So I really want to stress this, that if you stop working on your gifts, I'm not saying taking a break and processing. I'm saying if you start to say, hey, this is just too tough, I want you to understand that that's the same as you trying to undergo some sort of shielding or grounding type exercise, and all you're doing is creating a barrier for the flow, and so you're just going to have that water hit you like a rock. You're just going to stand here and hit it, but you're grounding and you're shielding, right? Like that armor is really helping you. It's all it does is weigh you down in the water and helps to drown you. I want you to be free. I want you to be able to ride on top of that water. So if the water is rising up, you're on top. You feel great about that. If the water goes down, you're on top, and you're okay with that because you understand it's a wave, right? But it's when you get under the water. It's when you cease being up here and you become heavy, way down. When you start to allow everything around you to have control instead of you having control over you. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. When I share with people and I see what they're going through, it's the hardest thing they've ever done. As you know, most things that are worthwhile are difficult. And you were given something very special, and I believe not given to everyone. And so I challenge you, and I'm hopeful that you will continue to work on your gifts and understand yourself better, understand what was really given to you, and what you can do with it to change your life and hopefully improve the life of the world around you. I have a floating spider that's just hanging here. Okay, I'm good with that. I hope you have a great week. And until next time, be well.